For the first time this year, Eastern Michigan will be playing at home against Long Island University. This is a true opportunity for a bounce back game. If you're an Eastern Michigan fan, if you're a player, this is going up against a Long Island team that's coming off of a very tough loss to obviously a very, very good Florida team, but coming off of a 55-0 loss that they end up using three different quarterbacks in the game. The leading passer in this game was Luca Sanzani, which his only pass that he completed was actually the longest play from scrimmage, 28 yards to Dion Richardson, which only had two catches, 37 yards in this game. Like, that is how much this Long Island team really struggled offensively against obviously a really superior opponent in SEC Florida. Like, it's going to be just kind of that way when you go up against that much talent. And obviously, when you're going up against Florida, you're not going to really do well defensively either. Long Island, their leading tackler was Rafael Bolzano. He had 9 total tackles and, yeah, gave up 55 points. So if you really look at just this game and kind of Long Island's game prior to this Eastern Michigan one, there's obviously not a ton you can probably take away statistically from this game just because of how good and how much better Florida is than Long Island. But like I said, it's a true bounce back game and bounce back opportunity for Eastern Michigan because offensively against Texas State, I thought this Eastern Michigan team looked pretty good overall. I talked about in the recap, I thought Noah Kim looked good at the quarterback position. This is basically a game that you're giving him more reps, more opportunities there. Obviously, he has starting experience, so I don't think he needs a little bit more. But obviously, being in a new system, being surrounded by new players, the more game reps you can get, the better it's going to be for him. And then you want to get guys like Dante McMillan still involved in the run game, still involved in the pass game. You have Terry Lockett Jr. getting involved in the pass game. And then you have maybe a guy like Joey Matford is going to be maybe a little bit more involved in the run game as well. I know he was the second leading rusher on this team against Texas State when they end up scoring 27 points. And I think this offense should be able to score quite a few points. Now, do I think they're going to score 55 points against Long Island? No, I don't necessarily think so. But I think when you have a pretty new offense overall with the players that you have, with the personnel that you have, having a game like this with a team that basically couldn't get anything done against Florida, obviously Eastern is nowhere close to what Florida is, but there's going to be a little bit of confidence going into that game and trying to get things right. And I think that's the biggest point of this game is trying to get things right, trying to get things back on track, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Eastern Michigan gave up over 600 yards last game against Texas State. This is an absolutely get right opportunity here for this defense. Obviously, never want to give up 600 yards of offense, gave up 52 points overall. You're not going to win very many games unless you have an elite offense. And at that point, if you give up 52 points and you end up losing, that's fully on the defense. And I think this is a real opportunity with an offense that struggled mightily, with an offense that doesn't necessarily know who's going to be the starting quarterback, at least from the Florida game, and really players that didn't really perform overall too well. I think this is a real opportunity for Eastern Michigan to finally start to feel a little bit right defensively, maybe start to get a little bit better when it comes to tackling, maybe start to get a little bit better when it comes to just playmaking on the defensive side of the ball. And it's obviously their first home game of the year, right? Like, you really want to try to get these things right before you end up going into MAC conference play. Like, you want to get things back on track, especially for a coaching staff and a team that really missed last year for the first time of a bowl game. Like, it's about getting that confidence back, and obviously coming off of a difficult loss to Texas State, a loss that overall I don't think the team looked that great, especially on the defensive side of the ball. You really kind of need one of these games to hopefully be able to, let's just say, play a lot of guys. Like, they're going to be guys that probably are going to get opportunities to play in this game, in my opinion, that they wouldn't necessarily be able to play maybe in MAC conference play. So I think this is a real opportunity for Eastern Michigan to really get better, get things back on track, get things a little bit more buttoned up. And I think if they do that, I think they can obviously win this game. And I do expect Eastern Michigan to win this game comfortably no matter what. There's not even betting line for this game. Like that really shows you both of these teams, maybe what ESPN, what the sportsbook thinks of this game. It's not going to be the most exciting game. It's not going to have a ton of eyes on this game. It's probably not really even going to be shown at very many places. But with that being said, it's still a real opportunity for Eastern Michigan to get back on track with its defense. If you can gain a little bit of confidence defensively, that's really going to help this offense. That's going to help this team overall continue to improve. And I think if you end up going 1-1, especially after a tough game against Texas State, I think you're looking on the future and trying to say, where can we get better? Who can we get more involved? Why and where can we improve? And I think that's really the biggest opportunity here is trying to get better and trying to figure out who's going to be your playmakers, trying to figure out what you're going to do for the future, and hopefully get your first win on the year at your home crowd, which I know that probably the players are really excited about. I'm sure that they're ready to get back to Ypsilanti, and I'm sure they're really waiting for that first win, especially after the game against Texas State. But yeah, no, this is going to be probably a pretty short recap just because I don't think there's a ton here for Long Island. I obviously don't want to be disrespectful for them. They're coming off of a really tough game against a really good team. They were 4-8 last year. I do think that they're a team that is going to be decent in their conference, but I think you have an Eastern Michigan team in the conference that should be much better than them. And if they end up losing this game, that's going to be pretty concerning, especially if they continue to give up a lot of yards. They're really going to need that offense to continue to step up if that's the case. But hopefully that's necessarily not the case in this game. Hopefully they do gain some confidence there. Hopefully they can keep Long Island less than, let's just say 20, 25 points. They can do that. I think they win pretty comfortably, at least by 10 plus. But yeah, that is really the preview of this game. I think Eastern Michigan wins pretty handily. I think they end up getting their first win of the year. And I think there's going to be a couple of pretty big games from guys like Noah Kim, Dante McMillan, Terry Lockett, and a couple other guys are going to be contributing on this team offensively and defensively as well.